Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Moon Colony live stream. It's nice to see you all. I hope you're all having a good Monday so far. It's pretty grey here in the UK today, but
Yeah,
but it's quite cozy in a weird way. It makes a change. It's been quite sunny recently, but I'm
okay.
enjoying the grey. That's very English
Mm,
of me, I think.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I hope you're all doing great. We've got Arthur with us here again today. Hey Arthur, how's it going?
Everybody. Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. So we'll be doing some community art critiques today. I opened up submissions for that this morning. It was a little bit late. I'm sorry about that, but alas, we got so many great submissions again, as always,
Yeah,
for Arthur to root through. So we've picked out 5 today. So if and when we get to yours, if you're in the chat, then say hi. Feel free to ask any questions. We might have some for you too. So yeah, I think that's it from me. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along.
sure.
But yeah, I'll pass it over to Arthur. So this first one is by Rue in the Discord, I
Yeah,
believe. So
yeah. And let me see. So there was something about like
do you want me to
the
read it for
the
you?
description. Oh, please, yeah. Sorry, I think I already
No.
lost the page.
Yeah, no, that's no
Um,
problem. I'll get it for you. Ruse was this one. So they said, "Hi, this is my recent work in progress illustration of my OC. She's an evil woman who does black magic. I'd really appreciate some critique for the lighting, value, perspective,
lighting.
and overall
Okay,
piece."
okay, great, great. So overall, value is really cool. I like the lighting. I like cast shadows. That's a great thing. It's always good to suggest space and sort of tangible space, really, when you have objects casting shadows on other objects. That's it's a great it's a very dramatic thing to use.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that you use it. It's really awesome. So kudos for that. Great. um, Now perspective, it's okay. So just to make sure, make sure you use a perspective grid. When you use perspective, because you can nail it, you can sort of wing it. If you're just one character and very vague background, it's okay. But something can look wonky pretty quickly, and you don't know why. So I would definitely use a perspective grid. I can make a quick one here. Let me find my vanishing points somewhere. Okay. Here it is. So our horizon will be sort of low. So usually what I do is that I put a vanishing point in the sort of general the direction of the character, like I guess the Z axis, yeah, the zooming axis. So it's like essentially like going in the direction that the character is facing overall. Then I'll duplicate the vanishing point, slide it to the right. I press shift as I slide, so I stay on the same, it sort of like clips to it, like it sort of,
Yeah.
it doesn't do this, because you want to keep your horizon really on the same spot. And I'll stretch until it looks normal. And if the squares look too stretched, I'll just duplicate that last vanishing point. I'll just sort of like,
Now put another set in.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It sort of like makes everything more normal. I'll add some verticals to this here, so making sure it's in the middle. And since our horizon is so low, the verticals can sort of squish towards the top. It sort of lets us understand we're almost looking up, as if there was almost a third vanishing point. And once this is all in, I'm taking into account the fact that you have a sort of a Dutch tilt or sort of tilt to your composition. So once the whole perspective is set up, I'll tilt it to the side, and I will sort of match what you have going on. So here's what I think. Yeah, we can go for. And so now there's a couple of things that sort of jump to my attention. So of course, different, several perspectives can be correct, but with the one I chose, I see that some things could be aligned a little better, more symmetrical, So just check one line, for example, here, and see how far a detail that's supposed to be mirrored extends on both sides. That will sort of inform you of, how consistent you are drawing, how consistently you're drawing. If you already have a perspective grid, it's not exactly that, but it's correct in yours, then it's all good. Keep going with yours. Just make sure that that symmetry really works, that you're actually drawing in perspective. Same for for example, the angle of the armrests here. I'm just drawing blocks, but these can be refined. Same thing, you see I have this line here, this perspective line here, and it's my armrest sort of extends just a little bit below. It starts from slightly below, so the other one would start somewhere here and end about the same distance from this line above here. So perspective grids really help you draw mindlessly. It helps you really figure out everything without spending too much brain power. That's the great advantage of it. So however you do it, some people use some Photoshop plugins that I'm too old to know. I'm too set in my old ways, Jaden, to know how old kids do perspective nowadays.
I mean, your way is easy enough. I mean, you have just like a different document open. Like that's sometimes the old ways are the better ways, Arthur. Sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate things.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Some people, of course, will like to plot a few things in 3D first. Like a few blocky shapes. That's fine too. But if the thing is that things can get, I don't know. It's good to have a grid so you can improvise new details on it. If you didn't block it in 3D, maybe it's hard to understand how a new detail would behave in that space because you're sort of figuring it out again. But yeah, just anyway, perspective is really really useful in general. I would make sure that these windows are sort of arranged in a sort of rhythmic way. That's fine. It can be anything on the arch, whatever. It's all great. So yeah, perspective was a little off. Lighting was great so far. Perspective may be off. I'm not sure. It depends how you set it up. But yeah, I would definitely recommend a methodic approach. Now for the figure drawing itself, she's very, it's working in many ways, but it's also not working in some ways.
Okay.
Her overall appeal is she's great. She's very beautiful and attractive, like a sort of evil seductress in a way. But we're starting to lose a bit of some connections are very important, like the shoulders, the neck. We're sort of, I think it would be good to go still with the perspective on, because it sort of helps us understand the angle at which we're viewing the character. I would sort of tighten up the drawing here. So the neck is great. Okay, it's the right width, but then making sure you connect that to shoulders. And it works well. I would avoid a hand that's perfectly aligned with the arm, and that sort of hides just the right way, it hides the arm. I think it's not super. It's not the best thing to do. I would either even if it's a slight change, it's not much, but suggest the forearm somehow. It can even end up being hidden by the armrest. It can sort of overlap like this. It's fine, but it's just so that the hand is really not just in the exact alignment with the arm, the upper part of the arm.
Yeah, it can kind of look like she's got a really short arm.
Yeah, I need baby T-Rex arm or something.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really, yeah, that's not great. Make sure like also her back is well proportioned. Like, yeah, make sure also to draw the collarbone. That's very important. It's a very strong connector between the muscles of the neck, the traps on the side, trapezoids, and the chest. It sort of creates a nice boundary between all these groups.
Yeah.
The chest, and then let me see what the arm is doing here. Yeah, this arm here, not too sure. Yeah, it's a little.
It looks like
yeah,
it's sort of coming up and it's like coming up and holding something.
Right, a sort of like a paper, like a cursed sort of.
Yeah.
Like a sort of hex, like a drawn hex or something.
Mm.
So it's interesting. You see, like you can totally do this. For example, you can pick a place for your hand. Like let's say it's going to be here.
Yeah.
Now, all you have to do is see like where the shoulder is and try to find a perfect V connect, like where that would connect. So like sort of halfway between. It cannot be. Well, it could be there actually. Sorry, but it cannot be like too far away, or it cannot be like there like this. It has to leave enough space for a forearm and space for an arm, the upper arm.
Yeah.
And they're roughly the same size. So it's kind of, you can deduce, you can really choose first where you want the hand to be, and then sort of arrange the elbow accordingly. She can have her. But yeah, figure drawing is super important, folks. So even if you can nail the appeal of a character with a few strokes, it's really cool. But it's never wasted to draw really the full figure. Even if you end up covering a lot of it with accessories or whatnot, costuming, it still helps.
It gives you some nice practice too. It gives you some nice markers to work off of as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the rest is looking great. Careful with the structure of the face. Like the details are really good one by one, and overall the proportions are really interesting. Just be careful of the symmetry of the nose, its position according to the eyes. Mouth is looking great. Just be careful. Like and you can sculpt it with brush strokes, but I would recommend spending the time to draw. Even if it doesn't look great at the beginning, it's kind of a hard thing. Like those are like both sides of a bridge. Like it's hard to really make the progress in painting at the same time as you progress with drawing. But at some point they connect, and it's a little ugly. It's weird, but the more you practice the back and forth, the more the bridge, sort of allegory of a bridge, I guess. Like the more it looks, it's symmetrical, and there's a good communication between the two skills.
Yeah.
And it's normal if at the beginning you're not good at it. You feel like you're wasting your time drawing. You can pretty much, because drawing is really fundamental. It's really important. It's usually something that informs us that we're dealing with a mature artist. Someone who can draw something nicely. It doesn't have to be perfectly super tight, but it's nice, and the final result looks pretty close. Like the final render is not too far off from the original proportions. When you have an artist like that, you can throw. Well, you have a reliable workflow going on. It's a great thing to do as an artist, and as a client, it's really awesome to work with people like that, because otherwise, like, an artist can be good at just the final thing, but it will take like pictures, a bunch of like sculpting and pushing pixels around, but
Yeah.
until the end, you're not so sure what you're dealing with, and it can be a bit scary for some clients, you know.
Yeah, understandable.
I like this guy cowering, you know, begging for his life, praying for a favor or something. That's a nice touch. Same here, though. Like, I would definitely, you know, refine the structure of his body, even if we barely see him. Like now, his head is too low, you know, like this. So should be more like, even if he's sort of cowering and, you know, like this.
I actually have a question about. It's not about the critique session, but it's actually about your Patreon page that you have.
Okay, well, it's no longer there. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
that's what the question was. It was the links don't work. So did you end support for it? I'm guessing the answer is yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's over. I kept it for a while when I got hired by Colony, but then I, like, you know, I gracefully switched to Lunar Academy and ended my side ventures with Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
Sorry,
can't
sorry.
get enough,
Yeah.
if you can't get enough of Arthur, then you know go over to Lunar Academy instead. It'll be over there.
Exactly. All right. So this is what I suggest. Like, this to me, what's more lacking or could be improved. Because otherwise, like, again, I really like the lighting. Colors are fine. You know, the mood is well set, so it's really cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Keep working on it. Yeah.
Amazing.
I'll save these as PSDs. Maybe we can share them later if someone wants to use if Rue, you want to use the perspective grid, for example.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Happy to. Awesome. Okay.
Amazing. So this next one is from Candle. Thank you so much, Candle. If you're here, then say hi. They've just said, this is an old drawing that I want to redraw and would appreciate some advice on how to improve it. So just general, whatever you can think of.
Great. So first of all, it's a great drawing. It's really cool. Nice perspective. To me, I think the touch tilt is a little too strong. Like, it's sort of hard to see. It's hard to appreciate how well the character is drawn with that much of a tilt. So I would definitely do something more like this. Center the character a little more. Make the tilt so it's not so like, now it's sort of throwing the character too much to the upper right corner. I think she should be more really in the center, especially because it's so well drawn. So I see she's a doll, sort of like a sculpted sort of puppet or doll. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, I didn't
right, like
notice that. Yeah.
Wooden limbs. Or maybe I got it wrong. Let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's looking great. I like the braids. It's a nice touch. Okay, so all right, let's start with the face, because I think it's the part that you've worked on the most. It's really amazing, but I think the symmetry of the face, the symmetry of the features is a little bit lacking, slightly. So here's what I mean. Like, given the angle at which we're viewing her lips, her mouth, there shouldn't be like a full like turn away of that corner. You know, like, it shouldn't be fully turning away. It's very subtle. It's very hard to make like this 3/4 view, because you're dealing with a lot of compressed details that are hard to really understand. But trying to keep an eye on this corner as you're drawing the other is a good way to ensure a nice symmetry. I would make the mouth also a little higher. This. Because there's like a little too much space. There was too much space between the nose and the upper lip.
I think having the mouth raised a little bit more, that helps with the expression as well, like the just that kind of sort of smug kind of smile,
Yeah,
it works.
right. Nice. Yeah. Um, so I like this side here, much more stretched, smoother and finer, and more detail compression, I guess, on that side. But still, like, always try to be careful. Like, for example, I'm gonna do this thing here, so I've got to make sure it looks right on the other side. And also, like, you have to think of the axis of symmetry, right? So if that's the center of her mouth into her nose like this part needs to be equidistant with the part on the other side. Should be something like this. Like, again, it's the same thing as between drawing and painting, like geometry or like thinking things through like logically. It's one end of a bridge, and aesthetics and just
Yeah.
Coming up spontaneously with things. It's like the other side. They sort of meet in the middle, but it's not always very a graceful mix. It takes a while to really balance out those two strengths. But you can only go so far unless you're a real like odd genius with pure aesthetic sort of feeling, a bit of method, and like being able to sort of troubleshoot using symmetry as a tool, as a sort of gauge. It's a skill you have to learn at some point if you really want to take your art to the next level. Here, also, like, another thing is, given the angle of view, like her lower, like the lower side of her upper lip should be more like, I guess, larger, like, there would be more visible, and her lower lip should be more compressed vertically, just because it's sort of turned up. At least, that's the sort of logic behind it. We can stretch it, and so it means, but it's gonna mean something. Like, if we see so much of her lower lip here at that angle, it means she has a really large lower lip. If that's what you want, it's fine. But just you have to sort of know what you're going for. Also, I think the sort of this little fold here above her lip is a little too big. I think it should be something more like this. Like, with a graceful, sort of feminine, idealized character like this, usually those corners, like those sort of dimples at the corner of the mouth, are on something more like this.
Yeah.
They're not like a full sort of wrinkle. That's a little too strong. But yeah, symmetry, like, think of the angle of view. That's all very very important. Her nose also, it's tricky because, again, like, a lot of details are oddly compressed. If you have a hard time, like, really understanding what should be seen and what should not be seen, try to draw the sort of axis of symmetry on the face, and now, like, try to see where it sort of should end ideally, and then compare both sides. So on the nose, you see, like, I think it should go somewhere like this. So we should see a little bit of that outer side on the left. The eyes are great. I think here should be more like this. So again, like, the angle of view, we're sort of looking up at that character, so that orbital bone should be a bit more round like this. Then, of course, there's aesthetics, like, what really you find, what you want this character to be. So this is just my sort of interpretation of her features right now. But what matters, what really you should think about is the symmetry. Really. That's the tool that I used so far, like in this, trying to arrange everything. Um, the hand looks fine. Maybe the gesture here is like you shouldn't really, like there shouldn't be a tangent really between the fingers here. You sort of meet here in this one line. It's maybe
Yeah.
not the best. Can be more like this.
Yeah, it makes them look a little bit stiff.
Right. It's tricky to draw fingers. Think of negative space and overlaps, right? Try to make some fingers overlap others, like you've done. We could do more overlap like this, but that would be sort of like a chain of the same thing. So instead I've sort of separated the index a little more, so there's more of a sort of spontaneous variety, hopefully.
Someone mentioned the jawline and the chin. Is there anything that you see?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, could be, yeah. So, all right, let's do this. Like, the bottom of the nose should sort of coincide with the bottom, like the lower part of the ear, and the like roughly, well, actually pretty closely. But then it depends on like character, how to say, designs. Some races or fantasy type characters might have different ears, different things. But for human beings in general, there's this idea of like this is where ears start, and then you would have like the corner of the jaw. It's a little, it's stylized. It's stretched in terms of proportion, but nothing weird. Or maybe if you can, again, like it's very subtle, but if you could show a little bit of under, like barely, just under the chin, like the underside of the jaw. But very like almost nothing. So I didn't really notice, but yeah, thanks for pointing it out.
I think especially if it's like if we're right and it is meant to be like a doll kind of character, then having that more sort of having that jaw shape is is kind of it doesn't bother me at all.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It's like handmade to be whatever you want, right?
Yeah. This idea too, like right, like it's logically maybe some things could be different, but there's sort of aesthetic appeal to like a nice swooping line like this.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So overall, it's a super solid drawing. It's again like really well done. Yeah, just a bit of I thought like really having the whole like pretty much like the essence of the character is there, in this corner, and it's really pretty minimal part of the piece. So this is why I think what am I doing here? Having it more here would be nicer. You would just showcase more of your the character, because it's really well drawn. Proportions are great, shoulders are great. Like I'm sort of thinking of again like the body structure. Yeah, it's really cool. She's a very graceful character.
Yeah.
Maybe this. All right, so maybe right.
Oh, that arm's a little bit low.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. So that again, like let's assume this is where you want the hand to be, so that the wrist will be right here. If the shoulder should be here. Let's try to find like happy middle. Over here.
So a lot of this comes back to like figure drawing and stuff, really.
Yeah, sure. If you like, I always try to spend as much as I can gathering references. so you really don't have to do too much guesswork. But in the absence of good, information, yeah, going back to basic like proportion, sort of like how to deduce proportions properly, using those basic, those fundamental figure drawing techniques is really important.
Mm-hmm. And if I may do a little plug for your Lunar Academy courses, because they cover stuff like that, don't they? So
we do figure drawing, yep. Perspective, figure drawing,
appealing character design, and composition, impactful composition, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about those from Arthur, then you can grab those on Lunar Academy. I'll put a link in the chat for people who want to check that out. It's a really nice bundle, well priced. If you just want one of them, you can buy them individually, or you can get them in a bundle for less. So why not take a look?
Thank you. Yeah. So I gotta move quick because soon I'll be over. But yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So this next one is from Harmandeep Singh. Thank you so much, Harmandeep. Let me see if they said anything. Just any suggestions for improvements for this one. So
okay. So very cool. First of all, I like the sort of targeted, like focalized lighting. Very cool. Nice cast shadows everywhere. Great colors. Pretty amazing. I like the character. She's very cute. I think, so it's a bit tricky because you're painting using like a sort of coarse, like a brush, like it has this effect, right? Or maybe it's just a filter. I'm not sure, but either way, like maybe loosen up the filter a little bit so we see more of the features. The features are nice. I think the expression could be a little more refined because now it's like just a sort of stroke for the mouth. I can have a shape like this for the nose. So of course, depending on the style you're going for, you'll have different ways of simplifying or showing information. This is a critic art. Okay.
Oh wow.
Oh sorry.
Yeah. I just saw that. Unfortunately, we only do like digital art critiques. But that sounds really impressive. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Well, if you can somehow take a picture of it or scan it or scan it, probably not, but you know what I mean. Like it would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, make sure the features are like symmetrical. And for the nose, I think we can do something a little more. Like even if we stay within the same style, like we don't show the nostrils, like it's just a cute little nose. It can be more of a V shape. And like maybe just the base can be really defined. You don't need to define the whole bridge of the nose, I feel. It's a little too strong. So the lighting can sort of, caress the whole like bridge of the nose and cheeks like that. I think that was a little too strong. That lighting that stops sharply like this on each side. It makes the bridge of the nose look a little too thick, I guess. For the mouth, I would also move it up and try to think, even if you just want it to be a minimal, like sort of minimalist, style, it can still be a little more structured. Like she has like full cheeks like that, so the corners of the mouth could be darker, suggesting the cheeks are nearby. It could be a little bit of detail underneath the lower lip, still a hint of a shadow, and nothing more. That can be okay. That can be it. This personal I like when there's sort of alignment with the corners of the eye, the lower eyelid like this, and then like that sort of informs to me like where the end of the eyebrow would be.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very thin. Then you can sort of adjust, of course, like, but at least that's where I start. It's a sort of landmark to get started, but as things, if they need to take a unique or slightly different turn, it's okay too.
Yeah.
I would define the chin a little bit. So again, like, it's just to break because it might be a little too simple, the features. They can be very simple, but it's always good to add a little something that's sort of realistic in a way, or natural looking, like a slight bump for the chin, little thickness for the lower lip. Same for the ears. I think instead of connecting like this, they could connect more like this. Some ears do connect. Some people have ears that connect exactly like that. That's fine. So if that's really your purpose, make sure it's like evenly, balanced both sides. Personally, I would go for something more like your classic, stylized ears.
Mm.
And you see, like, again, symmetry, right? If this is her, like her turban where it starts, she has her forehead. I would make sure it starts and stops on both sides of the face, really at the same spot, So it's very symmetrical. Like, it's well made. Like, like it's wrapped. Gritty or grace or appeal has to do with symmetry. If you break it, it has to be broken up, like purposefully, and
Yeah, I mean, there's
so,
a lot of celebrities that are like, they're like the most beautiful person ever, and it's because they have really symmetrical faces.
yeah, for sure. Like, it always amazes me, like, how like, the ugly character in a TV show or movie is actually still super appealing. Like, in real life, it's still like, just stop in the street and take a look.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I was just sort of doodling here, but it would be cool also, for the hands to define a little better. She can have just 4 fingers, it's okay. If the proportions are so small and there's no, if it's okay within the universe that she has 4 fingers, just define that hand gesture a little better. I feel it's just a little, like, lacking a little bit. The thumb could be bigger. Yeah. So style-wise, I think it's really cool. It's just I thought it could use just more definition for the features. Like this. I'll save this. I really have to speed through the rest. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. So this next one is from Christian 1. Thank you so much. I'll just take a quick look to see if they've said anything with this. They said, this is my most recent work, and I'd like to know what could be improved in all aspects and what works well. So,
okay, let's take it away. So what works well is, overall, I like the texture variety. The composition is really cool. I think there's nothing is in tangent. For example, like the head is right like this. There's a nice sort of like overlap. That's really cool. Here as well. It's all very well crafted, this composition. So that's definitely working well. Textures also are working great. I like all those, that atmosphere, the grainy atmosphere, full of particles. That I can tell that this is like fabric, that this might be thicker, like leather or just a thicker fabric. It's very well indicated. You can tell leather from skin, hair. So yeah, really great job on that. A thing that could be better is, I assume you took like a photo reference for the body, because it's well, like, it's very symmetrical in the features, like what you're talking about. that earlier. Like everything is well in place. The angle of view is slightly different or slightly off, or maybe it's the field of view that's a little particular. So it's slightly odd. There's something slightly odd. So this is where you have to maybe take a like departure from your photo reference and try to enhance things according to how they would look. So that's more like the aesthetic uh, priming over like the logic of your picture. So here, for example, given the angle of view, I think it would be cooler to have, especially if it's a sort of a character doing something cool like this, to have his shoulder a bit bigger, you know. So you might have to reinvent a little bit the costume, sort of creating these little folds. It's really cool, but making them rounder to show really the shoulder like this would be really nice. Defining the pectorals a little better would be cool. And that other shoulder as well. So maybe it's just the angle of view, like something with or the field of view, like the camera has this certain lens or something. It's just that the character looks a little too slender and slightly off, like slightly too foreshortened in a way. Maybe the lens was, I don't know, I'm not too sure what happened, but yeah, this is what I would suggest anyway. Maybe it's a 3D character, you know, like Death 3D, like offers a lot of flexibility, but then sometimes like if you stretch things too much, it sort of looks a little unnatural. But overall, it's a really cool composition.
Yeah, I really like it. I keep looking in like the background and wondering what the deal is. I think it's like portals opening up to like different realms or something. I'm not sure, but I like it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so this is what I would do with even the back could be a little thicker. Yes. All right, so this is just a little bit of structure thing that I could see. The rest, it has to do with values really, because usually when you have a character casting spells, like especially like sort of these ghostly duplicates of himself, it's really cool to have a darker background, so these guys really pop, you know. And in this case, we have like sort of a daytime background. So it can be, you know, for example, your character can be lit by a ray of light coming through, you know, some window or like some gap between, you know, parts of those ruins, whatever this is. But for the sake of composition, like just playing well with values and highlighting those characters, it would really darken the background like a lot, you know. Try something with highlight. And like find good references for like, you know, ghosts or sort of spells in general, just so, because now like there's some empty spaces where we see the yellow, you know, like we have, and when you have like blue, like a nice saturated blue, and close to it a saturated yellow that's like a similar value, it's sort of, you know, it can be aesthetically pleasing in some ways, but it's a little too, but there's not enough contrast between the two. It's too similar. They're just one value, like one hue apart, I guess, one color difference, but they're the same value, the same sort of saturation. So they compete a little too much. You can you know, trick a few things, like the background can sort of conveniently darken closer to the characters. That's completely fine, and sort of lighten up against like the silhouette of the character, the main character. But yeah, in general, it should be like for those ghostly guys to pop out. It would be really cool to have a darker background. So that's what I recommend. And that's pretty much it. I have to move on to the last one, but
Yeah, no problem.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
it was great though. Like Christian, like really great job.
Mhm.
Again, like textures are awesome. Yeah, figure drawing in general is awesome. It's just a little extra adjustment is needed.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So this last one is from Silverax, and they have said, I had it up a second ago. They said the background doesn't sit too well. They can't quite figure out how they can fix it. The character was done as a standalone, and then they added the background in after the fact.
Yeah.
So any tips on how they can improve that would be good.
Okay. Great. So yeah, so the way the ground is, I think it's great. Like the ground itself, so the way it connects to the foot, that's really nice. What I would do, so I would take this as the norm, like the way the perspective is set up and etc. And I would just sort of connect the other foot the right way. You like sort of lengthen it, or but the thing is now the foot is a bit too, like, it's not foreshortened, it's like the opposite of it. It's like it's sort of shrunk in the distance a little too much. So I would definitely make the perspective or the angle of view or the sense of depth in general more conventional, so like closer in scale with this foot here. Feet are usually the last thing anybody learns how to draw or focuses, so definitely the slowest of my draw overs.
Tricky.
It's laborious. Yeah.
I feel like hands are difficult, but you can do a lot more fun things with drawing hands. But feet are difficult, and they're also just kind of there. They're just sort of feet.
For sure. And it's much easier to find reference for hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And something about feet, like I'm not well, not talk without talking about fetishes or anything like that, but like looking at foot reference, I easily get a little bit disgusted. Not disgusted, but like I don't like looking at tons of pictures of feet because it's rarely good, like perfect looking feet or whatever. So it quickly becomes too much, so it's definitely not our, everybody's favorite subject.
Yeah, I totally feel that.
Like I was drawing this character for our art book, our upcoming art book, and so she has like a barefoot sort of stepping forward, this character. So I was looking at like women's barefoot, Pinterest or whatever. And yeah,
it's not the sort of
I'm
thing.
quickly over that. Yeah,
it's not the sort of thing you want someone walking in and seeing. But
just for a simple tiny detail that I really had a hard time finding, and yeah.
Man, sometimes you got to suffer for your art.
True. It's true. All right, so just slightly like this, connecting it to the knee is also tricky. All right, so we'll do something like this in general. So less further away and closer towards us, I would probably cast a shadow, like if he's like this character is running or somehow stepping forward, definitely a bit of shadow here would be cool. And for the background, like because a lot of times, like for art and like for any like illustration or whatever, the character is like the focal like element, and the background is like a sort of supportive sort of backdrop like this. So we definitely scale your character up, and that the background is there, that it, where roughly where the character is, but there's not too much empty space.
Yeah.
Because now there's a lot of area that really doesn't need to be there. So I would sort of probably crop your character like this. we'll even try to do something tighter, even more vertical, and like make sure like the somehow like the spell is more like this, you know, kind of more of a in a perspective, like a 3/4 perspective towards us, like this. And the background could be more, yeah, again, like a framing sort of thing. So if you have these rocks here, first of all, I would make sure to avoid any tension here with what I just did. So we could have like a few rocks. Like this. And as soon as you do something on one side, try to replicate it on the other side at a different scale, different distance, especially if it's just here to sort of frame the character. So that's a tip from Hearthstone art. Like I worked with Hearthstone for 7 years as an illustrator. So like it's the same sort of solutions that come again and again, and you sort of compare also what you do with what other artists do, and framing using repetition just at different scales is really good. It can be a mountain further in back here.
I really like the style of this character as well.
Yeah.
It's really nice. The line weight quite thick, which is something I always really enjoy.
Yeah, same here. That's very nicely drawn. So yeah, like I would use like diagonals that sort of converge and frame the character. I think it always works. That would be it. Just look great. Could use a tiny bit more work on the symmetry here. Let's fit the character. Even like taking his fantastical proportions for granted, just working out the symmetry a little more tightly would be nice. Let's do this. And sorry, but I see I have a meeting in like 1 minute.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say, I was about to say, don't let us keep you.
No, I would stay here another hour for sure. It's so much fun. Thank you so much, everybody. This is pretty much it. I'll save these and send them to as PSDs for as Photoshop files for Jaden to share with you, if that's okay, Jaden.
Yeah, sure. I'll pass them over.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
No worries. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll let you run away. I'll say goodbye to everybody for you. So
thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye out there. So it's just me now. Hello. Let me hop over. Let me hop over here. Hello. So thank you everybody for coming along to that. I hope you really enjoyed. I hope you found that useful. Critique session with Jaden. I don't think you want that. I don't think you want that, and I don't think I want that either. That's a lot of stress. But yeah, I hope you found that helpful. We'll have another critique session in sort of, I think, about 3 weeks. The next one we'll have coming up will be a portfolio review in 2 weeks, I think. The way that we're trying to do it as best we can is critique, study, portfolio review, study, critique, onwards. So fingers crossed that works. But thanks for coming along, everybody. Thanks for all the amazing submissions as well. I know he's not here, but thank you, Arthur, for that. You know, it's always great to have you on. The next stream we have is tomorrow with Leone. So it feels like it's been a while since we had Leone on the stream. So it'll be nice to bring him back on. So come around for that. That will be taking sprites from old games and making them into more like modern illustrations, which will be cool. But until then, I will see you all next time. So I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.